Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
ASTERRA provides data-driven solutions for water utilities, government agencies, and the broader infrastructure industry. Their expertise lies in leak detection, infrastructure analysis, and soil characteristics monitoring. Using geospatial data, they develop innovative tools to enhance water management and infrastructure resilience. And my guest today is James Perry, Executive Vice President of ASTERRA. James, my pleasure to have you on the program today.
Well, thank you, Tom. And it's certainly my pleasure to be able to join your podcast. I think what Ex Terra is doing, besides the fact that we share Terra in our names, is truly groundbreaking. And it's really important to be able to share best practices and opportunities to be able to grow markets. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's start with just a brief overview of ASTERRA and what sets you apart from other companies in the geospatial data and water management sectors.
Yeah, from our perspective, the most important thing that we've been able to bring to this burgeoning, growing, and exploding opportunity around spatial analysis is that we began back in 2013 with a grant from NASA, part of a team. Our co-founder, Loren Guy, was part of a team looking for water on Mars. And over years, the very particular technologies using synthetic aperture radar, particular wavelengths within SAR, to be able to penetrate through atmosphere, see below ground, and reflect off the signature of water. It took a number of years through that exploration, but over the last few years, you've been hearing more and more reports about subterranean frozen lakes on the Martian planet, which is exciting. And really our first effort of ground truthing, if you will, began with searching for water on Mars.
So let's talk then about the key products and solutions that you're offering.
It's really began with that first view and continued into our growth as a company. So Loren Guy not only was part of this remote sensing effort, getting his master's degree at that time, he also happened to work for a water utility in Israel. And as you well know, in the Middle East, very scarce water supply, particularly treated water. While he was working for this water utility, he recognized that there were significant water loss issues with all the effort that goes into treating drinking water, and then it's never being used at its intended source, going through a tap, essentially. So what he was able to do, quite excitedly, was to test and match what he was able to do from his studies to apply it here on Earth, specifically developing an algorithm that could find the signature of drinking water below ground. The exciting part about that is the only way that that would exist if it has leaked from a pipe. So that started the journey of trying to find a home. And his ground truthing in those days was flooding his parents' backyard, using that as a control fixed point, and then managing the imagery that we receive from SAR to be able to determine where that potable drinking water was below ground.
Now, have you developed your own satellites, or are you using commercially available data to do this analysis?
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of what we do as data analytics geeks. We could take available imagery, and while the cost of satellites have dropped dramatically, there certainly is the possibility for us to develop our own. We found that there's enough of what we need for a particular wavelength, L-band, using SAR with available satellites that are up there today. So our strategy is to acquire satellite imagery, tasking that satellite, and then we acquire the images and process it through our algorithms.
Is this something that has just recently become available? Has the technology matured to the point where you're able to do this kind of work? And kind of what do you see? How much better can it get?
Mm. Yeah, the some of the benefits that we have around using satellite imagery is we cover about 1,400 square miles in any one image, and there's accurate data within it. It's a 6 meter pixel size,
Mhm.
which is what we would say is good enough resolution to provide extraordinarily useful data that is doing things, updating or digitizing what has been traditional methodologies for understanding soil moisture and data. So for us to be able to acquire it across what is now about 5 different satellites has a good repeat for us, meets the market needs, and it gives us the right quality we have right now. I will add that we do look at other ways to improve resolution, looking at putting instrumentation, these active send and receive synthetic aperture radar devices can also go on the small and light aircraft such as Cessnas, and we have demonstrated the ability to do that. But quite frankly, satellite's given us the best bang for the buck in terms of quality and cost and the information we need and the frequency that we need it.
How does ASTERRA then leverage geospatial data, satellite imagery, and artificial intelligence in your software and decision supporting tools?
The working backwards from that, it really was about trial and error, ground truthing, and ensuring what we were claiming and seeing, we actually proved by going into the field. As an example, we've generated over 120,000 points of interest for water utilities where we're seeing key signature of drinking water that is caused by leakage. And we have found recently over 100,000 of those. That means we didn't just report it, we went into the field, we pinpointed, were able to dig, fix, and repair that leak, returning that water to service. That included bringing on staff PhD AI or machine learning expertise that really allowed us to pinpoint further, increase our accuracy, and identify not only the water chemistry, but also other applications that are impacted by general soil moisture.
You've mentioned the term ground truthing a couple of times. How do you define that?
Well, for us, once we've reported something, it's only good as the increase in efficiency that we're able to take advantage of, whether it's on operational maintenance for a line or going into the field for potential landslide failure. We have to go into the field using additional tools to ensure what we saw was in fact the case. And that information, we allow that to feed back into our algorithm. With a 6 meter pixel size, we can define where within that pixel precisely that precision gives us the ability to update our algorithms and then use that as a virtuous cycle, if you will, of constant improvement across our platforms.
I want to dig a little bit deeper in how your company detects those underground leaks in the potable water supply systems and the impacts the technology has had on water conservation and infrastructure maintenance.
So, once we started to develop the product, if you will, ensuring that we saw points of interest that were potable or drinking water below ground, we needed to prove that in the field. So there were two elements that we were more keen on. First of all, would the market have any interest for this data? With the additional costs that we bring, we needed to be able to pull together a business case that really made sense. My background, data analytics, I worked for Hewlett Packard for a number of years. I always enjoy bringing disruptive innovation to market. And it's not just the beautiful science of invention that you see from a Loren guy, but it's also breaking down nodes of traditional methodologies to go about problem solving within any portion of infrastructure. And that means asking the questions of where are their pain points? Where to doing things traditionally? I think of it as an analog to digital transformation. And what we're able to do is break down the ecosystem of maintaining water supply and where leakage is causing non-revenue water challenges. It takes a lot of electricity to maintain water systems. Essentially, you're treating it, you're pushing water using electricity, a lot of greenhouse gases. And if you're wasting that, you have issues with global warming and all the greenhouse gases that come along with that as well, too. So for us, it was important to break down all of these nodes, to be able to insert our data, to be more efficient in the field. And as an example, one of the things that we found is roughly using analog listening devices. You're essentially blindly walking through every inch or meter of a system, and it can be thousands of miles and take many years to survey an entire system, and still highly inaccurate. You're walking over that. It's very noisy, very chaotic environment. And generally speaking, we found that going into the field, they would find about half to a leak per day. And what we knew is that if you added our technology, went to more points of interest, you would find more leaks per day, essentially. It translated to about 4 leaks per day versus 3/4 of a leak per day. That allowed you to repair those leaks and return that non-revenue water to revenue water and lessen the need for pulling additional water resources.
Then beyond leak detection, what kind of infrastructure analysis services do you provide?
Well, we do help consult with both engineering firms when it's on the design build phase. We do have another product in our category that we call Master Plan that allows us to survey and deficiency grade every inch or meter of a piping system. And for that matter, we've been able to do that not only with potable drinking water, but also reclaimed water and as well wastewater, adjusting our algorithms, the dielectric content or the conductivity levels different by the additives in those water types. So being able to identify that water chemistry has really opened us up to be able to go into further infrastructure support for all of these drinking water, wastewater, and reclaimed water systems.
You said that the company started out looking for water on Mars. Do you do that here on Earth as well? Do you look for water resources that have not yet been discovered, aquifers and things of that nature?
So we do support, and there we are bounded by some technology. The technology depth is roughly 3 meters, so 10 to 12 feet. So we're not going to go down hundreds of feet to be able to find new sources of water. We're more engaged in efficiently using the resources that we have, even on raw water systems where you may have wells or aquifers in Texas, as an example. We're ensuring that those raw water pipes are not leaking as well. And now we've shifted gear in a very dramatic and impactful way, not only to our investment community and our ownership, but really into helping manage key infrastructure such as landslides for rail or drainage challenges for rail that can cause rail derailments. Also, earthen dam and levee maintenance. Again, it's the same sort of efficiency play. You can't visually observe the surface, cover every mile of a levee system, and think you've got that you have the best picture of the overall health. And so we're able to detect things like piping coming through levees or seepage that is occurring, and we'll be that first line of a defense and the ability to grid these systems and then send alerts and alarms for the operations teams to more effectively and efficiently go into the field and repair what they're observing.
Is it exclusively for water, or can your algorithm be adjusted to look for things like oil leaks in pipelines and those kinds of things?
Generally speaking, what we're focused on moisture. It is certainly possible to take other liquids and fluid materials and to be able to isolate those down. We've really spent our expertise on L-band within the microwave spectrum for synthetic aperture radar and been the leading edge developers of that technology better than any of the big names, as we well know the thousands of satellites that are there. And every day we see more news coverage of more and more satellites and more radar being deployed. The future is about how to use that data effectively in our future. And that's really where the game changer for our future of humankind resides.
I'm talking with James Perry, Executive Vice President of ASTERRA on the Ex Terra Podcast. Take a moment right now to click subscribe to be sure you don't miss any of our podcasts, or if you're watching on YouTube, any of the videos from Ex Terra, the Journal of Space Commerce. James, tell me a little bit about the team. Who are you working with?
So internally, we're punching above our weight in terms of resources. We're profitable. We're growing a very strong business. We have about 75 employees split between corporate headquarters in Israel and London, America's offices that I head up and run in San Diego, California. We have about 17 employees there, and employees also based in Japan. So we keep growing. And as a fun, profitable, growing business, we really seek out good talent. Each one of us who comes on board has a passion for SDG, doing good for humankind. We're radar geeks, we're data analytics geeks, we're machine learning experts, and highly motivated with what we do. It's exciting because we're doing something that's never been done before in humankind, and doing it in an excited manner, catching the attention of a lot of the big Fortune 500 companies that see what we've been able to do to commercialize this, where they may have struggled to date to find a home for this, all this information and data that's currently available.
Let's dig into that a little bit, because I'd like to know who primarily benefits from your solutions. Are there specific regions or industries where your technology is particularly impactful?
Our narrative has generally been wherever there's infrastructure, it has been aging. Most of the westernized world has systems, pipes, grids, rail, dams, levees, mines that have been around for 100 years or more. These were designed for 25, 50, 75 years. It's just simply not cost effective to be able to replace it all. We have to deal and maintain it, and we have to do it effectively and efficiently. And the only way to do that is to do it smarter. And that's where we plug not only an amazing technology that's been developed, but again, really to break down these ecosystems and find what we can help our customers do better. And the customers can be an engineering firm. They can be the operator or owner of that infrastructure. On rail networks, you have ballast that needs to run at a particular speed, needs to have the particular flexibility. It can't be too stiff, it can't be too soft, and drainage tends to be a major issue. So we're able to, with our product called Earthworks, determine where there are potential drainage issues. We can also combine our data with other data, such as slope. If you have a very high degree of slope, and a high degree of moisture, and it's changing over time, there's a likelihood of a rupture based on that soil type. And so we can set up alerts and alarms to inform rail or roads, similar situation, drainage issues, culverts being blocked up. And climate change is a big piece of it. We hear about that all the time. It is real that we see catastrophic issues coming in terms of hurricanes and tornadoes. And we're able to see through clouds to be able to help inform where this change is occurring, likely leading to loss or failure, insurance claims, and alike.
So it sounds like you're saying you can detect things like a potential dam breach and maybe be able to prevent those kinds of things, or at least alert the owner of the dam to say, you've got a problem here.
That's correct. We've been able to look at some tragedies. More and more dams are failing, again, age, whether they're drinking water reservoirs, fresh water, or tailings dams for the mining industry, as an example. There's quite a a need to be sensitive to the chemicals that are being held in those tailing dams. And they're built over time and they age. So we're able to determine where we're seeing high indications of moisture. That is the first indication at the depth of 10 to 15 feet where failure could occur. We've time and time again have some sad stories where there's been loss of life in earthen dam failures, and we've been able to show and pinpoint exactly where failure occurred and corroborate that into the field. And it's a sad proof point. However, it's important again on that ground truth thing to say we're providing something of value. We give you something more cost effectively and a first line of defense, if you will, for where failure is likely to occur.
I'm fascinated by the transition that you had with your origins on Mars exploration technology to your current focus on Earth-based water management. How did that all kind of come about?
Well, it's been a true journey of ensuring that we have a good voice of the customer. And when we started on the leak detection, potable drinking water, some of our utilities were also managing wastewater, asked us if we could adjust our algorithm to give them areas of points of interest on wastewater or reclaimed water. So we really took that journey. And then often these same utilities are maintaining dams or levee systems, whether it's FEMA, Army Corps of Engineer. They're looking again for cost-effective ways to understand the overall health and to support, whether it's in the south or northeast of the U.S. or anywhere in the world, we're able to more effectively manage that. And so there has been a very clear journey, and we followed the breadcrumbs to some truly amazing markets, and they're much bigger the further we get into our earthworks category. The stakes are higher. Loss of a dam or a loss of a levee is extraordinarily high risk, potentially impacting human life. So that's something where we take very seriously and have begun breaking down those ecosystems, showing exactly through not only white papers, but direct case studies that show what we do, why it's better, how to use us in the most effective manner.
But are you still looking at solutions that might impact the exploration of the moon and Mars?
We are always part of a community, as well as you are, to be able to provide our expertise. So in I would say a small way, yes, we talk all the time with our partners, whether it's JPL or any of JAXA or NASA. We're providing what we know to them in think tank opportunities. But I will tell you, we are in the business to make business. So we tend to focus here on Earth these days.
What does it say? Do one thing at a time and do it very well.
Exactly.
Looking ahead, James, what can we expect from ASTERRA in the space commerce field, and what role do you envision for geospatial data in shaping a sustainable future?
Yeah, from my perspective, there's really three key components to that, and that's continuing our journey into earthworks, where we really need to establish more of a foothold in markets around roads, rail, mining sector, dams, levee, and even property, helping with airports and huge infrastructure around asphalt and parking lots for Walmarts and stadiums. We can help ensure the overall effective efficiency of maintaining those infrastructure. And then I see us also beginning to develop, using us with other radar, with other pieces of information, other bands within the spectrum, and combining surface reading technologies with subsurface reading technologies, with other well-known data, and working with providers who combine all that information, an Earth observation component to that. That's a completely new sector for us, and I see us really taking a lead, working with big names in the industry, whether it's the Airbuses, the Amazons, and Googles, everyone that's combining multiple pieces of data to be smarter with infrastructure, we're going to play a role in that Earth observation element. And then I see us getting in and being a key part of all these other sensors that are going up in the sky, whether it's 5G, autonomous vehicles, anything that's actively sending a signal and receiving that signal and collecting it. We're just now at the cusp of it. And I think, at least with my experiences, having been around the block a bit, I know that it's going to be another generation or two with a little bit more creative think than my more solid brain to come up with creative ways to use this. We're doing it. We're on the forefront. We're doing something no human has done before. But there is so much that is going to change our lives in this coming generation. It's going to change the way the human race lives and operates for the good of this planet that we live on.
And one thing more, and we ask this question of all of our guests, James, and that's to look out, if you might, over about 10 to 15 years in space commerce and ASTERRA's role in that, and tell me what you see.
I see a few small startup companies today that are really taking this technology, these technologies, and starting to use it, commercialize it, and find a home for that data. And over time, those companies are going to grow. There's tens of millions being invested, and it's being invested not on a guess, not on a hunch, but on a real line of sight that in the next decade, all of this data being collected is going to change everything we do, combined with machine learning, combined with active data that's being received for live real-time updates of what's going to occur, good and bad, in our environment, and to be able to have that information sooner and do something about it for all the good of us.
And I suppose the trick is going to be to determine which of those companies are going to survive, which are going to fail, which are going to get acquired or gobbled up or whatever, because a lot of that consolidation is going to happen as well.
That's when I first started in business, I had an old timer who used to tell me that, don't worry about a company getting too big because they will lose touch with the ability to be able to solve new problems, and they'll be big and bloated and they'll suffer from that. And small little startups will come up with a new way of doing things. And I think that's where we are today. So I'm pretty confident that there will start with a number of startups. They'll be bought up. There'll be a lot of consolidation, but that will be a virtuous cycle of disruptive innovation saving the day.
And that brings up an interesting point to kind of close on. Are there technologies that you're already seeing that your company might like to acquire or at least have access to that will make your job easier and better?
Yeah, I think
and you don't have to be specific. I don't want you to give away any company secrets.
I'm usually pretty open unless there's something imminent, and then I have to be careful.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, as we talked about earlier, the quality of data can always be improved. The frequency of data to get closer to real time can be improved. So I would see the data and the sensors improving along that, making the information available aspect to it. And I see the number of satellites that are going up is increasing. And I think they'll start to talk to each other better. I was reading this morning about ground stations and some of the bottleneck that occurs with data. So you're going to see that element be more real time than it may be today. And I think that's kind of the key of having a healthy infrastructure that's supporting infrastructure.
James, it's been a fascinating conversation and worth the wait. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Tom. I truly enjoyed it.
James Perry is the Executive Vice President of ASTERRA. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Ex Terra Podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version of the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible, and many other popular podcasting platforms. Be sure to click on subscribe so you don't miss any of our podcasts or any of our other videos. You can also get daily updates on space commerce by subscribing to the Journal of Space Commerce on Substack at www.xterrajsc.com. And be sure to connect with us on LinkedIn and follow us on X at XTerraJSC. Until next time, I'm Tom Patton. Thanks for joining us.
I wanna go faster, faster. Hands in the air, we're gonna crash. Searching for the answers like Galileo through his looking glass. Thirst for reason. Our dreamer's eyes we gaze into a sense of purpose known by few. Like finding water on the